Welcome to the Startup Grind.
Welcome to our Startup Grind event here in Bali at Vision Villas, and welcome for being here. A big round of applause to you. We've got an awesome group here. We've got some people here that have been attending our Wealth Dynamics Masters event here at Vision Villas. Who are those people? Very cool. Yay. And we've also had some people that have been here the weekend before at our Crystal Circle conference. So those people, yeah, very cool. Excellent. So it's been pretty exciting. We've had over 100 people here this weekend. We've got over 50 people here this week at Masters. And now we've got our Startup Grind with one of our mentors here at Masters, the privilege of having him here. And Roger's going to introduce him shortly for you to be able to hear what he's been doing over in the States. It's very exciting. And I just wanted to welcome the person that's going to interview Arpad, and that is Roger Hamilton, who's the founder here and owner of Vision Villas. And he's the person that put together all the different barlays, the different energy, the gardens, and with a team of people has been able to create what is a living example of how you can create your energies and the ability to take your business anywhere and create an environment to make it work. So Roger Hamilton is the founder of Talent Dynamics and Wealth Dynamics. He put together our profiling system that's been used by over 500,000 entrepreneurs to enable them to follow their flow. So can I just have everyone upstanding?
Okay, so welcome to Vision Villas and welcome to Startup Grind. So Startup Grind is a collaboration between the organizers that started this in Silicon Valley with Google for Entrepreneurs. It's now grown to hundreds, about 150 cities around the world. And what happens at every one of these is that, I know many of you have been to, well, some of you haven't been, but many also have been to one of these before. We actually record it all and it all gets uploaded. And so it's very similar to TED Talks, but it's specifically for entrepreneurs. And the person I'm going to invite up is kind of interesting because we all know about entrepreneurship, but intrapreneurship, or what happens when you actually bring it into a large company, is a whole different set of challenges. And the person who is here to share tonight about not just how large companies are dealing with the changes happening around us and with entrepreneurship, but how they're then also looking for ways to make an impact on school leavers coming through who often aren't even in a position to be able to actually get the right jobs and the right skill sets in the first place. Arpad is actually originally from Canada. He now works from Florida, but he travels around a lot, working for a company called Celestica. Celestica is a $7 billion business. He is the CIO of the company. So he's the Chief Information Officer. And what he's been doing there has been pretty radical in terms of actually looking at entrepreneurship very, very differently. And we're going to hear all about that tonight. So can you please give Arpad a big round of applause? So technology. What got you into technology to begin with?
It's a funny question because I never thought I'd end up in the US or in Canada. I was born and raised in Hungary, and I studied business administration, supply chain management. And there was a point I reached that I was always complaining about the technology because it was always the gate to get anything done until somebody asked me a question that, why don't you fix it? So I realized that in order for a company to be really effective, they need to have systems that are aligned, they need to have information that flows.
Right.
And I wanted to say, okay, that's all about enabling that. Let me be part of that. And then I fell in love with the power of what happens when you connect the right information and the right people.
Yeah. Okay, so you went to America, and
Yep.
that's where you ended up getting your degrees. Is when you ended up getting into Celestica. How long have you been with Celestica now?
So I've been with Celestica for 6 years.
Right.
So after school, I went to work for GE. That was still under Jack Welch, and that's where I got in my head the idea that it's all about people. Jack's management is all about put the right people in the right role. Then I joined the
What were you doing at GE at that point?
At that point, I joined as their internal communication manager, which
Okay.
is all the communication about how to connect their first acquisition in Eastern Europe.
Right, right.
Then get a job in the US with them, and very soon get an offer from KPMG to help transform the culture of companies, not just at GE, but other companies as well, and then help transform their supply chain.
So you went from GE to KPMG?
Yep.
And then after KPMG, that was then on Celestica?
Yeah, so after KPMG, I spent 15 years transforming companies. And one day, a former client of mine called me that, hey, you want to do this for real? Leave consulting, join the industry, and help to transform the company from within.
Right. So, okay. So I have a question around technology in general, because so much of Startup Grind and the kind of companies that come through are technology companies. So much of what you hear or we hear is that the biggest gap is the need for more coders, computer scientists, you know, the real like technology savvy people that there's simply not enough of them. But then you said one thing to me once, which was the CIO was kind of like the last seat in the C-suite, right?
Absolutely.
So why do you think that is? What is that changing, or what's the reason that that's the case?
It's a very good point. What happens that I think in the year 2000, IT got greedy, and all of a sudden IT was the absolutely critical factor. So a lot of CIOs positioned themselves as the one that had the key. And at the end of the day, in 2000, nothing happened. And that IT was a function that was just focused on systems, not on solving business problems. And I think we lost a lot of credibility with that. So what I see in the last 10 years happening is slowly we kind of get our seat back at the table that we are not just technologists, we are the ones who see the end-to-end business problems, and we can really create business value, or right now with digitization of businesses, can be leading the innovation instead of just enabling it.
Okay, so technology is almost like a back end. It was almost like a cost center, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so this guy's going to spend lots of money, and he's going to go out and he always asks for more computers and more things.
Yeah.
And that's switched now, right?
Absolutely.
So how do you define, like, okay, let's imagine that we have got some people here who have kids. Hands up who's got kids. Hands up, okay, all right. Hands up who still is a kid. Okay, so if you actually were to say what like actually taking down the role of technology, and even in companies, not just in your own business, it's something of real value. What could you say to them is what you see as being the biggest shift in the CIO role in the time that, not just now, but in the times that you can see coming up?
Yep. So one of the key challenges, one of the key opportunity I see that very few companies set up to really take advantage of what's happening in the world of technology. So the CIO is the one who understands the shifts that are happening in business models. If you look at companies, what happened with Uber, what happened with Google, what happened with Facebook, these are companies who reached to $1 billion from zero in record amount of time, because they realized that connecting information is the answer. But most of the traditional companies are still just moving materials, moving goods. So IT can be really a catalyst to see how can we take advantage of the shift that is happening outside of the world with a digital business model.
So one of the things was you actually managed to convince your management that your role could actually support and transform the actual way that people in your company even worked, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and you actually even used talent dynamics, which is something which many of the people here know about as well, which is the corporate side of wealth dynamics, to make that happen. Mm-hmm. You were showing me something earlier about that. So do you want to kind of, this is like how recent, what you're sharing here. This is like from this, okay, so how recent is it that all this was implemented?
So we started this journey a little bit over a year ago.
Okay.
And that was one of my big aha moments, that I talk about using information. But at the end of the day, it's not just information, it's about how can you make sure that your team is fully on. And the IT folks are not just staying in the back office, but really stepping up to play a different role. And we started this journey probably a year and a half ago.
Okay.
It took us a good 6 months to really get traction within the enterprise. And right now, this is the way we look at managing talent, hiring people, assembling the team, not only in IT, but in other parts of the organization.
Okay, so you drove a whole new way for people to connect with each other.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go through and just tell us what you did.
So one of the challenges that we see, and this is how most companies operate, whether it's small or medium-sized business or large corporations, that we are so focused on skills. We hire for skills, we put people in the right jobs for skills. So if you take a snapshot of what people know about me, well, those are the list of skills that most people rattle off, that, hey, Arpad is good in this. Now, this is not a bad thing, because it answers one fundamental question: can I do the job? Now, most companies realize that, I mean, how many of you hired a person who could do the job, but they just didn't do a great job at it? As a painful experience. So what we did is we really looked at how can we start to measure about what is your track record, how people have a track record of doing that. Now, there are some outside measure points. This is my snapshot from LinkedIn that people start to get you feedback about, are you good at this, what you are great at it. But what our big aha moment was, and this is why I fell in love with talent dynamics, is there's a third question. That a third question that no company ever asks. Not just can you do a job and will you do a good job, but is the job that you are doing is really aligned with what you are passionate about, what you are energized. And especially in the IT profession, we have IT employees who cannot wait to go home, log in online, and spend 20, 30 hours a week to give away their time for free, contributing to open source programs like Linux that is running 80% of the web servers in the world, or contribute their time to some other platforms without having their name on anything or ever getting recognized for anything, because they are not engaged at work. IT is one of the most challenging professions, but if you look at your employees, how many of your employees stay in after hours because they just want to work on your business versus cannot wait to go home and work on either their hobby or something else? So one of our challenge was, what if we can get this insight? What if we can figure out what turns people on and make it a common knowledge, make it a common language in the company? So this is what talent dynamics enabled us to do, that all of a sudden I have a snapshot about what is a person would be excited to work on. What is the things that would strengthen them? If I give them an assignment, they would not ask for a raise. They would not ask for extra hours of recognition. They would just be grateful because they would love to work on that. And we find that there are certain people who love to work on innovative stuff. They love to start projects. They love to get started on certain things. And also it gives us an insight that what are the things that if I ask this person to work on, it will be completely draining from them. That will be really challenging for them.
So so you use, this is the wealth dynamic square, and you use maximum ROIT, which is return on invested time.
Yes.
So fundamentally you're saying don't get someone investing in areas where they shouldn't be working.
Yeah.
And then you turn this into a tool that people could then actually use in real time, right?
Absolutely.
So what does that look like?
All right, I can show you. So after we did that, it became, basically there are two things happened. All of a sudden it became an okay discussion for our team to talk about, hey, I'm really great at that and I would like to take on more of these type of projects, versus if you ask me something else to do, I'm doing it, that's my job, but it's going to be really, really challenging for me, which is not an easy conversation to have. I mean, most companies will want to look cool, we want to be a hero at all, we can do it all, but that's just not a reality. So what we enabled our team to do is have a simple tool where I can look up anybody that is, let's say.
And this is what, with some 700 employees on here right now, right?
Yeah, so we have all our IT team, we have most of our company managers on it. So let's say I want to start a new project. I would like to have somebody who will lead up by starting a new project. Those of you familiar with talent dynamics language, that would be a creator profile. So I can look up who are the creators in my company, and our headquarters is in Canada, so I can look up, okay, I have 17 employees in Canada. Who would be the right person to give this project to? And here is a gentleman who have maintained what his skills are, and it seems that he would be a person I talked to before is interested in this project.
So what's going on there on the right, where when you clicked on him, that graph changed?
All right. So I already have a person here. Okay, I just put his profile there. So it's like, okay, Francois is a person working for me. He's in our Toronto office. I would like him to lead a project. What's great about him, he's a creator. He will have no problem starting the project without any structure. Actually, he would love the Mission Impossible challenge to take on something. Our challenge, though, especially in IT, so many times we start a project and we forget about the users. We forget about talking to the users who need to participate in this project. And if you look at Francois' profile, he doesn't have a whole lot of blaze energy. He would not necessarily reach out to who needs to support him in the project. So for me, what would be great, if I want to set up this project to success, if I let him start a project, but I would assign a mentor to him, or a team member to him, who naturally complement him. So I either enable him to look for his partner, or since as a CIO I'm accountable for this project, I would say that I would like to match him up with a star who can take his brilliant idea, shine a line on it, and really take it out to the team for adoption. Like, okay, so I have a bunch of folks in Toronto. Let me turn off my creators because I really look at stars. And, oh, let's see. Here is Rebecca. What if I add Rebecca to the team? So all of a sudden, I can see that the joint team will not only be able to start something and drive an innovation, they will be really good at collaboration. They would be really good at starting the right dialogue and adopt it.
So you're building the teams. This is allowing you to do that. You can go in and see all the different people that are in there. They get to choose also how they want to be described.
Yeah.
So you have ability for people to effectively do more than just go to LinkedIn where you can kind of meet people. You're actually building teams and seeing what that looks like.
Absolutely.
And what's been the result of doing that?
So what happened that in the last 3 years, we are in a very challenging industry. It's a single-digit margin industry. We are in high-tech manufacturing. I mean, most of us enjoy the fact that PCs are getting cheaper and cheaper. All the equipment are getting cheaper and cheaper. How that is happening, that manufacturing getting more and more effective. So I needed to continuously challenge myself to reduce my cost, but also drive more projects. So we were able to drive year over year 15% more projects, double the amount of money we spend on innovation and capability creation. That means we probably put a lot more pressure on our team without losing any of our high potential talent. Because what we enabled people to do is start to work on projects that they love, start to sign up for positions that they love, start to collaborate with each other in a way that they get results, but each of them work on areas that naturally build on what they are good at.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. And is this something that you can see now rolling out to even more parts of the organization?
Absolutely. So we started in IT. Right now, when our sales team saw that, it's like, oh, we have limited number of people who can do sales, and yes, we are close to a $7 billion company, but we definitely want to grow further. So it enabled us to get sales folks in the right role.
Right.
And we had some folks who were really, really in charge of sales operation, which is all the detailed part of sales. But when we did their talent assessment, it turned out their Blaze profile. They would actually like to collaborate and be out there and selling instead of doing the back-end operations. So we made some of the shift, and we were able to actually increase the sales team engagement and operation without adding headcount to it.
So for those of you who are entrepreneurs, would this be a good system to find other entrepreneurs to build teams with around the world? It's pretty cool. And I think that's what's so interesting now is that more and more companies that are getting entrepreneurial internally are coming up with really great tools that then entrepreneurs outside are using. I mean, Google is a good example of that, and that they're always coming up with new ways of actually managing teams that others are now taking on board as well.
And what's funny about this system that you see, I mean, this is a pretty cool system, right? Yeah. I mean, I showcased Francois as a thank you for him. He developed this whole system in 3 months as a passion project. He's a creator who in the past we asked him to work on some of the compliance projects, some of the content management project that he did because that's his job, but he hated. So when I told him that, hey, Francois, we have Mission Impossible, I really would like to have a system that does all that, but I have no idea how to get it done. In a couple of weeks, I had a working prototype. In 3 months, we have a system that right now supports our whole company, integrated with our white pages, which is our internal company directory, and people can find each other, establish mentoring relationships, and connect with each other. This is all without me approving any funding, any money spent on this, because that was his passion project. That was his Linux time. This was his after-hour time. So he somehow find time for it.
Very cool. Now we're going to take some questions from audience in a moment, but I want to ask a question about the CIO 100 awards, right? So every year in America, it's in America, they run the CIO 100 awards, and which obviously means the top 100 chief information officers in the world. And it's been twice now that Arpad has actually won and become one of those 100. What do you think is the reason that you got selected twice in a row?
So I think the fact that I was there to fix IT gave me a very different perspective about how can we challenge what IT can do. So first time we won because we really turned IT into a transformational function. And we actually launched a brand new business unit empowered by information. The second time, and this is what I'm most proud of, we win because we changed completely the way how we engage IT talent, how we shifted the IT profession from skill-focused to really talent and passion-focused, and how we ignited a discussion. And for me, what the award gives a platform to have some of the peer-level discussions with other CIOs about how can we engage talent differently, first in IT, but obviously outside of IT. Because I think right now the HR profession is in the same space where IT was 10 years ago.
Right.
HR in many companies is a back office function. It's payroll, compliance, and administration. And I think what we can do by having this level of insights is really change the way how HR can contribute to the success of a company. So in a way, the second award was to playing a shadow HR role and revolutionizing how we enable talent to live their passion, connect with each other, and really create a very different value for the company.
That's really interesting. So almost the whole of corporations are turning inside out, where the front end functions, which used to be product development and the sales, which you would always lead, is actually switching around, and now it's more the data on customers, what customers are saying, how team are actually operating to then inform, well, what actually should the products be, and exactly how do people want to be presented with those products, and it's all kind of shifted back to front. Yeah, this is really interesting. So let's open this up for questions. Who would like to ask Arpad a question? Yes, Dai, we're going to get you a microphone. And just when you get to ask a question, say who you are, where you're from, and then the question.
Hi, I'm Di Caldwell from Australia, and I am a Talent Dynamics fan. And I just want to know, when you actually, determine, say in IT, and you do the tests on people, and you determine that they're not so good in that area, what happens to those staff?
It's a very good point, because if you look at my profile, which you have probably seen before, I'm a creator. I'm really good at starting things. I actually have blaze energy, which is great at then championing it. I have very little steel. As a CIO of the company, that's a scary thought, that systems are not my thing. So I cannot afford to do that. And actually, it's very interesting, if I switch back to my presentation for 1 second. If you take a snapshot of my LinkedIn profile, what you will see is an interesting disconnect, which is one of the things that I was most recognized for. And if you would have taken this snapshot 10 years ago, actually 5 years ago, program management and system management would have been my top 2. Because I got really good at it. I got really good at something that's completely out of my strength and passion, but I was rewarded for it. And I really climbed up the corporate ladder to do a job that I hated, which is why I actually left KPMG Consulting, which is, I was really good at managing large projects, even system projects, and I felt completely unsatisfied. So your question, what happens with areas that you are not great at? You can do what I did, which is just get over it and do it anyways until you burn out. Or what we ended up doing is start to build a team around you who naturally step into those areas you are not great at. So one of my learning was I started to surround myself with people who are not even reporting into my organization. But they are my advisory team. Anytime I make a major decision, I reach out to them that, hey, what am I not seeing? What are the things I should be thinking about? And now I also have a group of folks when I have to have a detailed implementation, I delegate it to them because I know for them, they will lit up like a Christmas tree. They love that stuff. That takes me completely out of my flow. So as a CIO, I cannot just say, I don't do budgets, I don't do systems, that's just not my thing. What I can do is either get over it and do it anyways, or a much better answer is just build a team around you who would lit up and would really enjoy doing those activities.
George, microphone's coming.
Hi, my name is George, and I'm from Johannesburg in South Africa, from a company called Lockstep, involved with organizational development. So this is fascinating. Thank you. My question is, to what extent did you have to teach the theory of this profiling process that people were ready to be called on for their creatorship or their supportership or their etc. Or, as I imagine would work well, if you just get asked to do stuff that you love, it happens pretty quickly. But I would love to hear your comments.
Yeah, so most organizations are really saturated with theories. And we are in manufacturing. We actually usually don't even hire consultants because we don't want theories. So what we ended up doing, I knew what I was looking for. I was looking for a tool that helped me to get this level of insight. And actually, Talent Dynamics was not the first tool I tried. I tried many things. I tried Disk. I tried Strength Finder. I tried many, many different tools on my poor team to get the same insights. But I find that no other tool have the level of insights, consistency that really discover what is your true natural strength. But once I knew that this is the right tool, what I did is I produced results with it. So I first tried it out with a small team, which was our most critical team, our customer-facing team, and produced results. And all of a sudden, the rest of IT said that, oh, we are interested to do the same thing. So then we scaled up for the IT organization and start to get results. IT usually have major retention problem. I mean, we are in manufacturing. I cannot afford to compete with Google and Facebook. And we are hiring from the same universities. University of Toronto is right now the top university of artificial intelligence analytics studies. I'm trying to compete with the brand name guys. Today, manufacturing is not the most exciting profession to join. But what we ended up doing, we were able to hire these people and retain those people. So all of a sudden, our HR organization said that, oh, you guys are doing something differently. And we invited them in, made them a hero of our story, but really created this pool in the organization by showing results, 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 instead of trying to roll out theory. Because I think if I would have said, hey, I just found an amazing profiling tool, everybody should try it out, I don't think I would have gone far.
Mm-hmm. Quick follow-up question. Would you say the HR revolution centers around a return to nature?
I think HR revolution centers around combining what's great in HR. Like many companies right now are throwing away performance management. Performance management actually is needed. It's important that we recognize performance management. So I think it's important not to throw away what's good in HR, but augment it with what's missing in HR, which is a real understanding of nature and talent, and combine the two, lead to high-performing team that work in flow, that work on the area of their passion, so they produce 10x results.
All right, thank you for that. Another question? We've got time for one more question coming from further back here.
Linda from Prague, the Czech Republic. I've got a question with regards to diversity, not only with regards to diversity of talents that you have, but diversity of gender, because the trend nowadays is not only to have diversity of IT teams, but more women. And IT seems to be for women enigma. Mm-hmm. So how do you deal with that?
So it's very interesting, and if you follow right now corporations finally started to publish these numbers. Facebook, Google, we start to disclose our diversity numbers. I actually happen to be the chairman of our Women Collaboration Council, which is all about how can we enable women to rise up into key positions. And what we find that every culture and every profession has some sort of a bias. But that actually leads to the next topic, which is what we realize that women professionals are extremely effective in IT because they have this natural ability to link the dots in a way that is a lot more aligned of the role that IT can ultimately play. Not surprisingly, the one C-level position that has actually a highest percentage of women is the CIO position.
Is that right?
So this is some positive trends are there. But the problem is, I have a daughter. When I raised her, I did not look for her to get into coding profession. And even though I tried to steer her there, she's a steel profile. At 16, she realized it's not cool to work on computers. There's so many cultural factors, peer pressures that limit the entrance. So what we did is we actually launched a program that I would like to share a bit more about. It's a social initiative to help young adults discover what they are naturally great at and find a way to enter into the field of technology, the field of entrepreneurship and innovation. Because I think the diversity problem is not the right way to fix it just at the promotion time. We need to fix it all the way down to how we are creating career choices for our kids, how we are positioning some positions for young adults.
So let's just talk about that for a minute. The whole idea that the schooling system may not be preparing adults, women and men, young boys and young girls into a career which is actually fitting their talents and also which is going to allow them to be in high demand when they leave. And we've got massive amounts of youth unemployment now around the world. In some countries in Europe, over 50%. And you've got this crazy situation where they themselves don't know what to do, and companies now are stepping up and saying, well, we'll do something about it, right? So I know you've been involved in a project just like that. Could you just share with everyone what that project was and what the results of it has been so far?
So I live in the US right now, but I work in Canada a lot. And both countries face the same challenge. We are losing our innovation edge. There are less and less people entering into profession that driving innovation. But in Canada, there are some alarming statistics. If you look at the population from 18 to 25, 50% of that population is either unemployed or seriously underemployed, way below their capabilities and their education. So what we wanted to do is, if we want to stay a leading high-tech company, we are one of the very few high-tech manufacturers in North America. How can we re-energize that population? And when we started to look at the schools, we realized that most of the schools teach a 15, 20-year-old curriculum. They teach for professions that might not even be relevant by the time our kids graduate. And what they are not teaching is entrepreneurship. Like, if you really want to re-energize North America, we need to have entrepreneurs who are tech-savvy, who are digitally literate, and would like to drive innovation. So instead of waiting for somebody to solve that problem, we teamed up with the leading entrepreneur school in Canada, the city of Toronto, and launched an initiative. We call it Zero to Startup, where we initially wanted to educate 18 to 25 years old how to start their company. But then we realized that's too late. At that point, we have a whole generation that is already disengaged. So actually, we took it down to 13 to 14 years old, and we teach 3 things. Number 1, we brought talent dynamics for young people for that generation because we want them to discover who they are. Because so many times in our education system caters for visual learners who are really, really, like in talent dynamics language, dynamo energy. And our education systems caters very well for steel energy. And people who are more kinesthetic learners, who are more exponential learners, a lot of times are completely ignored or not catered for. Or people who are more learning through collaboration, sometimes hushed by our school system because they should just follow the rules and go on go on the other side. So we wanted to make sure that anybody who we are able to reach realize that they are okay for who they are and they have their own gift to give. So that was one, which is discover what their talent is. But then we also wanted to teach the fundamentals of business. So we brought in design thinking, we brought in business model, canvas, and business modeling, but adjusted the language so kids can discover it through plays and games instead of teaching it as a theory. And then we brought in a lot of digital technologies. So let kids play with robotics, 3D printing, simplified web design. So by the end of a 13-week program, we have kids who go to a Shark Tank experience where they are able to articulate their business plan, where they are able to actually showcase a working prototype of something that they believed in, and they actually use their talent. If they have blaze energy, they can be actually the one upfront presenting. If they have the steel energy, they are the one who put together the detailed financial model, how this whole things work. And we create an experiment where kids can work in teams, work on their talent, and learn the three most important part of being a successful entrepreneur, which is how to add value in a team based on their passion and talent, how to learn how a business is operating, and how to learn the latest tools and technologies that make them digitally literate.
And how's that program being received?
It's actually exciting. It's you can go online. It's zerotostartup.org. We did a prototype because we were passionate about this program, but we had a reality check that maybe we are crazy. Maybe kids are not interested in this. So we decided instead of 13 weeks, let's do 13 days. Let's squish it into a 2-week summer camp and see, will kids just abandon the camp and run away halfway through? So in the summer, we launched as a 13-day summer camp, and we had 40 kids enrolled. We actually made it a competition because we was like, how do we fill 40 positions? It's like, how can we find 40 kids? Well, let's run a competition and say, we only have 40 spots. Who wants to apply? So we had a couple hundred applications. We narrowed it down to 40. We had 40 fully engaged kids. They stayed with the 2-week program. And the first question is, how can we continue this learning? So now we launched the initial planned 13 weeks program. We are halfway through it. And it's a lot of commitment. These kids dedicate 3 hours every Saturday, that day off, to be this off-school program that is sponsored by university. And right now, we are halfway through the program. We have 40 kids involved. Nobody left the program. And that's a lot of sacrifice from the parents, a lot of sacrifice for the kids. That could be their playtime. So we know that we are up to something, and we had some great discussion in the last couple of days during Crystal's Circle that I think we have a model that we put together that maybe we can take to other countries. I mean, this is something, if we can really impact the way our next generation become entrepreneurs, then I think we do something that's worth doing.
Hands up who thinks that's an awesome idea. Yeah, totally. So just for that and just for what you've shared, first of all, can we just give Arpad a big round of applause for that? Very cool. On this topic, I'm very, very passionate about this topic, that we've got an education system that is not setting up kids for success, and the more we can allow entrepreneurialism to come into it, the better. Because what better way to know if you've got something of value than people are actually willing to buy something from you. We have a little bonus thing I want to just add in at the end here, because what we always do whenever we have any kind of programs or anything that takes place, and we're in the midst of a 1-week master's program right now, is we always have something that we're giving to in some way. And as I shared to those of you who are at the Crystal Circle conference the weekend, the big thing, which is the program that we just launched on Thursday, Friday, was my son Luke's Fibonacci Blocks Indiegogo campaign. If some of you haven't seen how that's going right now, I'd really love to share that. Do you want to just share from your side, Arpad, when you heard about this campaign, what your reaction and thoughts to it were?
I was very excited because, wow, I would love to use that as an example and actually even bring it into our program. That how can you have somebody? Luke for me is so inspiring. He's 16. It's close to the generation actually we are targeting that, and he's thinking about not just I have a brilliant idea that I actually want to see through, but I want to launch it in a new way. I want to launch it using a platform that today startup companies are using for crowdsourcing and crowdfunding. So for me, I will probably take the idea back and showcase as the motivating example for these 13, 14 years old that in 2 years' time, this is the bar, that this is where you can be. So I was extremely excited because what I see that everything we are trying to do is already existing.
It's happening.
Yeah.
So one thing is, Luke he's 16 years old. He's in the process right now of his last 2 years at school. He's actually got his SATs like next week. And he's been talking about actually getting into a technology-related field and actually getting into very much following the same footsteps of what you've been doing, right? So what I would love to do now is to do two things. The first one is to give a chance for those of you who haven't seen this project to just see how, like when he set this grade 10 project up, got it going, he got response from the teachers to say, hey, this is something that would be really great to actually see what could turn into a business. He actually then set up the Indiegogo campaign, which was last Thursday. It's up here now, where this is it. It is, if you scroll down a little bit, it's been 129% funded within less than a week, and it's hit 19,000 already, which is getting pretty close to his teacher's salary for a year. And so this really is what kids can now achieve, and what really platforms like Indiegogo can achieve in terms of actually giving anyone a chance to actually just try something out and make it work is a really key part to this. There's a video behind it. Here's what I'd love to do, because while Luke's in the middle of his studies, I thought, given that you were here and you just told this really awesome story, and Luke's been listening to this, I'm going to bring Luke on stage so he has a chance to sit with you and just have a few words as well. And for anyone here who'd like to support this campaign, it's live and it's ongoing right now. So let's just watch the little video. And this video was actually made on the floor right here last weekend. This was last Sunday that we actually made it, and here it is.
Have you ever wondered how artists and architects created so much beauty throughout history? Would you like to play using the same natural proportions as Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci? Now you can by helping me create the Fibonacci blocks. These blocks are designed using the golden ratio. This is a natural proportion found in works of art from the pyramids to the Taj Mahal. My name is Luke Hamilton. I'm a 16-year-old student in Bali, and I created the Fibonacci blocks as my grade 10 personal project. I was inspired by Friedrich Froebel. He invented kindergarten and inspired educators like Montessori and Steiner to help children learn through play. He created the Froebel blocks to help children think in 3 dimensions. Many famous scientists, artists, and architects used his blocks when they were children. People like Albert Einstein, Buckminster Fuller, Frank Lloyd Wright, and Paul Klee. So I created the Fibonacci blocks. They use measurements that match the Fibonacci series, creating the golden spiral and golden section. When you divide the long side by the short side of each golden section, you get a proportion called phi, which Leonardo da Vinci called the golden proportion. Scientists and artists through history have found this proportion in nature and in our bodies. With the help of Balinese craftsmen, I created my first set. The children at my school loved playing with them, and they began creating amazing structures and patterns immediately. Actually, so did the adults. Then, the Ivy magazine featured me, Richard Branson got a set on Necker Island, and many people wanted to buy a set. So I need your help. I have worked out that with your support, we can produce the blocks with a team of Balinese craftsmen, friends and family. By supporting this campaign, you can help children and adults around the world to discover their natural genius with the Fibonacci blocks. You will also be helping the environment as we're making the blocks from sustainable wood, grown in Bali, and I'm giving 10% of all profits to the Rainforest Alliance to help save the rainforests. My dream is that a simple product like the Fibonacci blocks can go a small way to make a big difference in the way we see the world and shape the world. Please help me make my dream come true.
So can we introduce Luke Hamilton up here? So you just heard a little bit, before we jump into this, you just heard a little bit about what Arpad's been up to and what he's doing. Given that you're about to go into your career, what question would you have for Arpad?
A question for personally going into a career, possibly like things to do with technology and such. How would it all, like, everything that you've been doing, how would it like cater to people like me who are younger, right? Possibly with schools and stuff. Like how would you recommend I go about preparing myself for like a life of technology in the future?
So I've been just looking at this, you are so much ahead of your peers, because there are two types of companies right now. Companies who are still looking for the right, the so-called right candidate, try to hire for a pre-existing job and looking at what you have done, what are the courses you took. I don't think those are the companies you are to join. And there are the other type of companies who are looking at people who think differently, who actually use technology to make something of it. These are the companies who are looking at entrepreneurs to really do things differently within the company. These are the Googles, the Facebook, the Zapposes, but these are the companies like ours who are daring to think differently. I think you need to be selective who are the companies you work for. So what I challenge you is you need to interview the company you are going for. So what I recommend, and I would recommend to anybody who ever look for a job, that's what I did in my last 3 employment shifts, which is instead of I'm applying to an interview, I actually go to a company and say that this is what I can do. This is what I'm passionate about. This is how I believe technology can be used. Is this the place where I can do that? And there will be some companies who say that, no. And you can figure that out before you join or after you join. And there will be some companies who say that, oh my God, where were you? I really would like you to come in and do what you are really great at. And that's the company you really want to join.
Awesome, thank you.
I'm just a matter of interest because a lot, I mean, like there's studies like SAT and there's all these different things that are happening. But as someone who actually is in a company that's looking for IT talent, how far does something like doing an Indiegogo camp? Because like we saw many parents here who've got kids, you know, doing something outside of actually doing the studies, like an Indiegogo campaign or something like that. You know, how far does something like that go when you're actually looking at candidates?
So we haven't done any hiring in the last 2 years without what I call a case interview, which is not an interview. What we realized that, again, it's common sense, not common practice, that we ask people a bunch of questions through an interview that has nothing to do with what they will do in day one. So now we reversed it. We give you a challenge that, hey, in day one, these are all the stuff you need to figure out, how would you do it? And then, if you have done something like that, you look at our day one challenge, it's like, that's easy, this is how I would approach it. And we had right now we have a new gentleman join our global analytics team. And this is kind of our secret innovation lab. His resume would have been the last in the pack. I had PhDs applying, data scientists applying. He was just a kid out of UT. He was a bright kid, but definitely on the bottom. But when we challenged him to think differently and solve a problem, he just nailed it so much better than anybody else that he said that, okay, I don't need a PhD. I need somebody who's willing to challenge the status quo and think differently. Google doesn't hire anybody without actually a really high pressure case that you are solving real time. So it's Facebook. So I would look for companies who are willing to see what you have to offer and not what you have on your resume. But in the meantime, if you submit this in a resume, you are just so much ahead of the pack. But I think you really need to challenge companies to look at what you have to bring, because it's a lot more than just your studies, your SAT score, or your majors.
So question for you, Luke. Last time I saw you, we had just launched this. In fact, like Luke came up here because obviously I've been here a week, right? And so Luke came up and it had just been going for 24 hours. So since that's happened, if you go back to the Indiegogo page, sure. That was like, it was at about 1,000. And since then it's gone up to 19,000. You've been going to school every day. You know, you've seen the teachers there. You've had your friends who've seen what's been happening here. What's been your feeling about? I mean, what's been your experience? What have people been saying, and how your teachers been reacting to the whole thing?
It's kind of just really quite sudden. I didn't really expect it to take off so fast. Definitely grateful that it did, and it's good that it can actually progress so much as it has, because then this can actually like expand, and teachers have been kind of interested in that too, because it's a lot to do with education, right? And being able to have a project like this actually take off means that it's so much more possible for teachers, like even at my school and other IB schools, to use a project like this to help educate the students in a different way, which is just like you're saying, it's like the conventional schooling system is just so like so closed. But when you start thinking in using 3D spaces and stuff, and you start using blocks to learn math, and you learn all these proportions and patterns through play, as opposed to just the regular tests and exams and studies, it definitely kind of like opens your mind up to things like that. And so the teachers are interested in working with it.
Yeah, so this hit the top trending on Indiegogo, and just today was in the newsletter. And Richard Branson wrote an email which I sent on to Luke, saying he was like, congratulations and stuff, which was really awesome. So that just came in. So this is something which is ongoing. It's just been the first 6 days. If there was anyone here in the room, Luke, that actually wanted to support a program like this because of what it's doing for education, what would you say to them is the easiest way for them to do it?
Right to the site, I guess. I mean, it's made really quite easy.
Do you want to just scroll for a second and just see what, if someone wanted to do something, what kind of things you've set up and what we've got on here that people could do?
You can see on the side as we scroll down, obviously just keep scrolling down, but that's just the perks that you can get. And using Indiegogo, it's basically crowdfunding, so you can choose how much you donate to the cause, and based on how much you donate, you can get different say rewards or things that you get back for yourself. And so if you scroll down a little bit more just below this, you can see at the beginning of the choose your perfect gift. So basically from the start, should I run through each one?
Oh no, it's okay. I think people can kind of have a good bit of a good idea. I think that, hands up who has already donated towards this program. So that's already a number of people, so thank you very much. Hands up who'd be interested in donating to this. All right, awesome. So what I think probably I'd say is that if you're here tonight and you'd like to donate towards it, like this is something where I think most people are going to get delivery because of the freight, sea freight is going to be like in March next year. But because we actually get these, do you want to tell them about how it's actually, like who creates them here in Bali?
Yeah, these blocks are actually, a big thing that came with my project was that they weren't going to be conventional plastic blocks because I didn't want them to be very like unenvironmentally friendly, and I wanted to make sure that it stayed in Bali, sort of, because it started as a small project, so it kind of stayed at that. And after I made the first couple of blocks with, actually, you guys might have heard this, but my driver that we know, his dad is actually a Balinese worksman, and he does wood carving and stuff like that. And so he made the first sets of blocks, and then after he found out that there was like demand and stuff, we went through him and we actually got Balinese craftsmen up in the north to help make these blocks. So it's actually all based in Bali with the actual production, and it's using like sustainable wood as you saw in the video. So yeah, it'll come through them.
So they've actually got a whole bunch of the blocks, and if any of you wanted to support this, Luke's going to be here for a bit, so you can come up and say you'd like to support it. You can get online, you can do it if you want as well. And we've even got some boxes here, which means that you don't have to wait until March, you can have them for Christmas. But that's something that would be really awesome for anyone who'd like to support something like this. And I just also was really keen for Luke to have a chance for two things. First of all, because Arpad's here, to meet a CIO 100, double award winner here would be really awesome. It's in the middle of Luke's school week as well, so he's in the midst of that. He's been sitting back doing his SAT revision as we've been going. So just to have the opportunity. And also, I really wanted to share this because a lot of what we're doing here this week is about running promotions. And it's like, how do you get something going and test something out? And like there's some platforms like this, which is so amazing that you can do it. And I think that this is a really great live project going on right now to just show us an example of it as well.
And thank you, because I can take this back to Zero to Startup and use your example for them that what can be the next step.
Yeah, very cool. So here's what we're going to do right now. If anyone is interested in meeting up with Luke and hearing more about that, he's here. Anyone interested in meeting up with Arpad, great. And if on the other hand you're here to continue to network, do that too. But I really hope that this has been a great little session at just really linking how does entrepreneurship link with big companies and with the next generation. And I think there's a really beautiful link between all of it, which allows us to be able to see all of this a little bit differently tonight. And by the way, what Arpad just shared there that he had as his system that he used, this tonight was the first time I'd even seen that he's actually doing that right now, which I think is awesome too. So thank you very much for that, Luke, and big round of applause for Arpad for all the showing this in today as well.